Coming up in the morning edition, former Cabinet Minister Irvin Knowles dies. The health minister comments on a possible scarlet fever outbreak. And Water and Sewerage Managers Union expressed their concerns. Tough times don't last, but tough people do. Good morning to all of you. I'm the ever-aggressive LaDawn Davis, and this is the Morning Edition. Thank you so much for waking up with us. And joining us live here on the Morning Edition to tell us how things are shaping up weather-wise is Chief Meteorologist Basil Dean. Basil, some chilly temperatures outside this morning.
Absolutely, and that's because we have a frontal system in our area. We'll tell you all about that in a short while. But as ZNS Tower Cam is showing some patchy stratiform type clouds just overhanging the skies of the harbor there. And as we go to our satellite picture, you will see that frontal boundary now in the southeast Bahamas in the vicinity of Crooked Island and Acklands will continue to slip towards the southeast during the course of today. But outside of our studios, we have mostly cloudy skies. Your temperature, a very cool 66 degrees, relative humidity 66%. The winds are out of the north-northwest at 16 miles per hour. The barometric pressure, 1,019.7 millibars, or 30.28 inches, and it is falling. Temperatures around the islands this morning, chilly temperatures up in the extreme north. Grand Total Key at 60. 60 also in Freeport, Grand Bahama, Marsh Harbor at 61 degrees. In the Berry Islands, 66, 65 in Bimini. Taking you into Harper Island, 68 degrees. Rock Sandy Lutra 69, 70 in Otterstown, Cat Island. Staniel Key at 67. Also Kemps Bay and St. Andrews at 67, 66 degrees in Fresh Creek, Central Andros. In San Salvador and Rum Key, 70 degrees. As we take you a little further south, Clarencetown, Long Island, Crooked Island, 75, 76 degrees in Betsy Bay, Megwana. Also Acklands, Ragged Island, 75, Matthewtown, Inagua, 75, and the Turks and Caicos Islands at 78 degrees. Your boating forecast for today in the northwest and central islands, north to northeast winds 15 to 20 knots, rough sea conditions at 4 to 7 feet, so caution flags are in place for your boaters in the northwest and central Bahamas. High tide 7:35 this morning, low tide at 2:04 in the afternoon. For the southeast Bahamas today, winds north to northeast 15 to 25 knots, wave heights 5 to 8 feet over the ocean, and that will constitute an advisory for your boaters. And that's going to do it for your first look at weather, the Morning Edition. Stay tuned. Your forecast for today and tonight is still ahead.
Thanks a lot, Basil. See you later on in the newscast. Meanwhile, traffic reporter Sieska Adderley is standing by with traffic cops to tell us how things are looking on our streets this morning. I hope you're keeping warm this morning, Sieska.
Good morning. This morning's traffic report, we're coming to you live from Rawson Square. It's a very windy morning, and I'm going to find out from Sergeant Jerron Thompson from the Traffic Division if this wind has any impact on our morning commute. Good morning, Sergeant Thompson. How are you?
Good morning to you. Good morning, Bahamas.
So it's windy, Sergeant Thompson. We're all bundled up. Does this have an impact, or will this have an impact on our morning commute?
Well, you know, when the temperature drops, sometimes persons they would often hit the snooze button on their alarm more often. So to catch those extras is because they don't want to get up. They want to stay warm. I suggest to those places to get up, get out there. Today is a Monday morning. Let's get at it.
All right. So, Sergeant Thompson, it's Monday. Were there any incidents over the weekend that you would like to report this morning?
Yes, we had a few major accidents. We had a traffic fatality yesterday on JFK Drive where a male would have lost his life. A very young man.
So was speed a factor in that particular incident, Sergeant Thompson?
Speed was definitely a factor in that accident. That is the first time I've ever seen a vehicle that was cut in half lengthways.
All right, and Sergeant Thompson, were there any other incidents as well in addition to that? Any minor accidents or anything else you'd like to report to the motoring public?
We had a total of 11 accidents in the last 24 hours. 2 of which involve accidents with injuries. But those persons were treated and were released from hospital.
So I know it's very early into 2019, but are you seeing a trend that you would like to see reduced?
Yes, we've noticed that during the late hours and early morning, we're having a lot of serious accidents. So we now have to move our efforts of enforcement to address those persons who are speeding during these times, to bring the level of these matters down.
Okay. Now, Sergeant Thompson, we are in Rawson Square, and the reason for that is that Junior Junkanoo is coming up. Is there anything that we need to know traffic-wise as it pertains to Junior Junkanoo coming up on the 31st?
Yes, Junior Junkanoo is expected to start at 6 p.m. You should expect road closures and traffic diversions at 4 p.m. In the downtown area, where we'll divert traffic around the wall from Navy Line Road. That's just an area of the Hilton Hotel, to come around to East Street so you can continue to travel east on the East Bay Street.
All right, thank you so much. That was Sergeant Jerron Thompson from the Police Traffic Division updating us on incidents that have happened over the weekend. And so as we start this Monday morning, make sure that you do so safely. But we'll be back. We're staying in the city center to find out more about Junior Junkanoo. Back to you in the studio for now, LaDon.
Stay warm, Sieska. We start on a sad note. Former Cabinet Minister Irvin Knowles passed away last night quietly at his home after being ill for some time. He was 84 years old. Mr. Knowles served as Minister of Agriculture, Trade and Industry in the Pinling administration and was the owner of the famous Three Queens restaurant. He represented the Cat Island constituency in the House of Assembly from 1977 to 1990. The Morning Edition team extends condolences to his family. May he rest in peace. In other news this morning, reports are circulating in the media that some employees of the Grand Bahama Shipyard have been quarantined at the Rand Memorial Hospital with what appears to be scarlet fever. Scarlet fever is a disease which can occur as a result of a group of infections. The symptoms include a sore throat, fever, headaches, swollen lymph nodes, and a red rash. The rash is red and feels like sandpaper, and the tongue may be swollen and bumpy. We spoke with the Minister of Health this morning on this very serious issue.
There was quite a bit of misinformation circulating yesterday. You may have seen or heard reports that there were a group of individuals thought to have quote-unquote scarlet fever, and that they were quarantined and that there was a challenge. And it turns out that most of those details are incorrect. There was a single person with presumptive scarlet fever. And scarlet fever is, yes, it's an infectious disease, but it's a very treatable complication of strep throat. Typically seen in children and very, very treatable, and certainly not a threat to any community. There were a group of individuals at the shipyard thought to have influenza, and they were trying to sort them out, and it certainly was just a few of them. And so this evolved into this very elaborate conversation about a group of people that had scarlet fever. Not true. Quarantined, not true. Posing a threat to the public, not true.
Earlier this month, the chairman of the Water and Sewerage Corporation, Adrian Gibson, announced that plans are being finalized to downsize the corporation. Nothing has been finalized as yet, but the union officials are expressing concern and want more details. Here's Cleopatra Murphy.
While Water and Sewerage Corporation Executive Chairman Adrian Gibson announced a planned right-sizing exercise for the Water and Sewerage Corporation in 2018, President of the Water and Sewerage Management Union, Ednil Roll, says he and his membership have yet to be engaged in any discussions with corporation officials. Roll says as far as he knows at this point it is all talk, but says based on current morale at the corporation, some employees may be willing to accept packages.
A lot of things going on, and so, yeah, I'm sure if it was an individual basis, I'm sure there are some members who will obviously consider it if the price is right. I think it's more of fear or of not knowing what's going to happen. I think that is what is keeping, and it's really upset a lot of people.
At a recent press conference, Gibson shared that the corporation was looking to disengage between 50 and 120 people through voluntary separation packages. He says those numbers would depend on the number of people that apply. Water and Sewerage currently employs approximately 415 people. Gibson suggested the corporation was overstaffed and it would benefit from a reduction.
Right-sizing the corporation, one, makes the entity leaner and more efficient, lends to more financial viability, not as much salaries going out, and also I believe it gives the corporation an opportunity to perform even with greater efficiency in terms of its output.
The managers' union president believes the report that arrived at that conclusion did not consider local circumstances, but was based on international figures.
As far as I know, he used a study that was conducted by some consultants some years ago, and those consultants said that the corporation is overstaffed based on an international based standard, but of course, you know, they haven't put it to local stuff, whereby, I mean, it's based on how many connections we have, and how many employees you need to cover those connections. But I mean, a lot of that don't consider the fact that we're an archipelago. So, you know, it's a lot of things they didn't consider, and of course, and so for that reason, of course, you know, they just use international standards, and international standard says for this amount of connections, I should only have this amount of employees.
Gibson anticipates there will be 4 to 6 packages ultimately. Roll says the union is waiting to see how those packages will look.
It's a position that they want to get to at some point, but at this point, no. I don't think there's no substance to it.
Gibson says some employees have inquired about packages, and once internal reviews are done, the unions will be consulted. Cleopatra Murphy, ZNS Network News.
Thanks, Cleo. For the past few months, BTC has been in the news, and it appears that employees of the corporation are not very happy. Several attempts were made to reach government for their side of the story to no avail. This morning, President of the Bahamas Communications and Public Officers Union, Dino Roll, joins us live here in studio here on the Morning Edition. Mr. Roll, welcome to the Morning Edition.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, Bahamas. Thank you, LaDon.
Talk to me a little bit about employees. I know they were concerned about downsizing at BTC. Has that taken place?
No, the downsizing has not happened, and it appears that management, hopefully, and the employees believe that the management has moved away from that position, and we're waiting to see what management position is in that regard.
What about the call centers? Are employees still employed there? What's happening with that?
Well, we haven't heard anything in recent times what management intend to do with the call center. Certainly, I believe that the agitation and the public stance that we have taken has pushed them back somewhat. We've had a good number of interviews and conversations with the government of Bahamas and management, and we're waiting to see what becomes of that.
And who's currently employed at those call centers? Well,
in the call center, we have a good number of young Bahamians are employed. Of course, if you recall, when we did take to the street, we were talking about the calls being transferred to other regions. And so the union's position is that those calls ought to be picked up by young Bahamians here in the Bahamas. Mm-hmm. And it means at the end of the day that those persons are employed here, rather than employing persons elsewhere.
So with this next step, would there be any cuts, I guess, to retail stores here, I guess, across the country?
Well, we're waiting on management to see what their plans are. We're hearing some things, but it's a conversation that must be had.
I know there's a big meeting here at ZNS sometime this afternoon about our contract. Are you able to give us an update on what's happening with that?
Yeah, we received a counter-proposal. We presented management with a proposal last month, and so we received a counter-proposal recently, and this afternoon we're going to present management's proposal to the employees here at the Broadcasting Corporation, and as a matter of fact, we around the table, we began our initial talks towards an industrial agreement on Wednesday.
Mr. Roll, thank you so much for joining us here on the Morning Edition.
Thank you so much.
Stay close. We've got more news right after this. You're watching the Morning Edition. We're now going to take it back to our Sieska Adderley, who is once again standing by in Rawson Square with the organizers of the Junior John Canoe competition, which is expected to take place at the end of the month. Welcome again, Sieska.
We are still here in Rawson Square, and that's because the countdown is on to the Junior Junkanoo Parade. And here to tell us all about it is Miss Junkanoo herself. She wears many hats when it comes to Junkanoo, but this morning she's wearing the hat of co-chair of the National Junkanoo Committee, yes. Kishlane O'Brien. Good morning, Kishlane. How are you?
Good morning, yes, I'm well, thank you. Good morning, viewing audience, and welcome to the actual beginning of the countdown for the 2019 Seoul Petroleum Junior Junkanoo Parade, which will be here on Bay Street. We're back on Bay Street from 2011. This is the first time that we're back on Bay Street, and we're very excited. We're excited in so many aspects because since Dr. Dwight Marshall and I became co-chairs of the National Junkanoo Committee, we've partnered with the Ministry of Education, and we created a Cultural Education Committee. That Cultural Education Committee then allowed us to have accesses to the superintendents of schools, the principals of schools, and then we began to learn, and we did a feasibility study of the importance of why Junkanoo may have at that time been considered for another time. And so when we completed our feasibility study, we then saw how important it was for the students to complete their end-of-year examinations and also to prepare for their GLAD and other exams, and parents and the teachers were preparing for the Christmas holidays. And so we thought that the best thing to do to allow our students to have that free reign, to allow our students to exhibit our cultural expression in a point where they are all the excitement, it is all about them, would be now. And so our 2019 Seoul Petroleum Parade will be held on Thursday, January 31st at 8 p.m. here on Bay Street.
And so how many schools are participating, Kishlane?
Well, we have 20 schools that are participating, but guess what? Since the announcement was made that we've transformed the Junior Junkanoo Parade from the December timeline to now a newer timeline in January, Mr. Henry Higgins, who is our Junior Junkanoo coordinator with the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture, he informed us at a press conference last week that 6 schools have already committed. Those 6 schools are not schools who are participating this time, but because the announcement is now made of Junior Junkanoo being held outside of that December timeline, more schools are participating and they've committed to do so. So could you imagine 2020 Junior Junkanoo? Oh, it will be fantastic. But we're so happy and so proud, though, that we've partnered with corporate sponsors like Seoul Petroleum. Oh my gosh, this is their 31st year of sponsoring Junior Junkanoo, and we're forever grateful to them. And also John Bull for assisting us with purchasing the Elmer's glue and the markers, which will help the students as they begin to complete their preparation for their costumes, and then also Mobile Assist with our People's Choice Award. And so please come and support Junior Junkanoo. Tickets are on sale at the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture's foyer, $10. So please come and support our youth. Only $10, and guess what? There's standing room from Frederick Street to East Street. We're on Bay, and it will be fantastic.
All right. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure talking with you, Kishlane. That's Kishlane O'Brien, the co-chair of the National Junkanoo Committee. And basically what she's saying is that you need to be here January 31st at 6 p.m. as our little darlings take Bay Street. Amen. Back to you in the studio, LaDonna.
So it sounds like we need to get our tickets, Yeska. Opening their 2019 play season, the Dundas Theater is hosting their first theatrical event of the year, Trevor Roan's Smile Orange. Dundas officials expect to host up to 4 more plays in the upcoming months leading up to their annual fall Shakespeare in Paradise Festival. Director of Smile Orange, Anthony Skibo Roberts, spoke about how he came to put on the 1976 play about the Caribbean tourism industry.
Ringplay Productions, as you know, we manage the Dundas, and we've put together a format for the plays we're going to have for the entire year. And this is the opening one we chose, and I, as a resident director, was picked to, to direct this particular play. One of those, what I would call an acid comedy, because like I says, the different subjects from class to color to how individuals relate to one another within the business environment. It is very, very humorous.
Smile Orange is scheduled to show this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night, and some of the actors shared their experiences and feelings.
Interesting process, a very interesting process. So this has definitely stretched me, and it will assist me moving forward with playing other roles.
I just have a passion for the theatre, and of course I jumped at the opportunity. And I just feel really comfortable on stage. In fact, I feel more me on the stage than I feel in real life.
It was written in the 70s during a time before everything was so politically correct. So the script, when it's unfiltered, it literally touches on everything people used to laugh at before. It was like, ugh, should we, you know? So just getting involved in that, and then also having so much fun with a really talented cast.
Fisher, we've had a rough several weeks. I know we could use some laughter at that Smile Orange.
Talk about rough. How you think the New Orleans Saints and the Kansas City Chiefs feel after yesterday's NFL Division Championships? Boy, I had a chance to watch them yesterday. I'll keep my mouth shut on the calling. You think that Bahamians call bad? Boy, you should have seen some of those calls yesterday in the NFL. That's what we had yesterday. Then on the weekend was baseball. We had a team in from New York, so we're going to show some highlights from that as well.
That and more ahead in sports.
Good morning once again. Sports tourism was well in effect on the weekend. First over at Freedom Farm as they welcomed the Metropolitan Baseball All-Star team out of Virginia. They played a series of games against the local talent. It went well, and according to head coach of that Metropolitan team, Thomas Gates, he says the Bahamas has a lot to offer.
These kids here on the island, they are outstanding athletes. Matter of fact, I am a baseball coach at Victory Christian Center School, and we've had a few kids from the Bahamas, Tashami Johnson, to play with us, and I've got a summer collegiate team, Jaron Albury, from this organization, played summer ball for me now.
Also on Sunday, Marathon Bahamas held through the streets of New Providence. It was a rough race, 23 miles, but in the half marathon, it was Nacho Hanango winning in a time of 1:09:58 to take the title there.
I got here on Friday, and it was my first half race overall, my first time here in the Bahamas. Yeah, absolutely. That was the one job I kind of had, you know, like I said myself, I knew I had to run faster than the 1:11, which it was the course record. And then from there, we just played it off and went along with it.
And that's going to be a quick look at sports. I'm Charles Fisher. Thanks for watching.
In our final look at weather, we have that cold front now in the southeast Bahamas, just around Crooked Island and Acklins, continuing to push towards the south and east. Behind that, high pressure continues to build, and that means some very strong winds during the course of this day, getting up to about 25, even 30 knots, and there will be gusty at times, particularly in the vicinity of that front. The forecast for today calls for variable cloudiness and breezy. High temperature today will struggle to reach about 75, and tonight we are looking at partly cloudy and breezy conditions again, a cool 65 degrees, and depending on whether that cloud break up sufficiently, we could see temperatures dropping even lower than that, maybe about 61 tonight in New Providence. And the 7-day forecast looking like this. Temperatures will remain pretty nice and chilly right through tomorrow, and then come Wednesday, things warm up ahead of another frontal system, which will get in here on the weekend, and that too will bring with it a lot of showers that will bless us over the weekend. And there you have it on your weather for the next 7 days.
Keep those cool temperatures coming, Basil. Well, that's going to do it here on the Morning Edition. Make sure to join us this evening at 6 p.m. for our 2-hour newscast. I'm LaDawn Davis. Have a great day.